Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sabrina, and on behalf of Choice, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Your Library Inside AI Chat Platforms, which is sponsored by Clarivate. This session is one in a series of sponsored webinars from Choice that addresses new ideas and developments of interest to the academic library community. I'll just put a couple links in the chat where you can register for upcoming webinars and watch previous webinar recordings. Also, if you're interested in library technology, LibTech Insights, or LTI, is a content vertical from Choice that examines the day-to-day impact of library and education technology on academic librarians, researchers, and students. The channel provides practical guidance on technology trends and products, including AI and AI literacy, user experience, useful tools, and job profiles, all of which are written by and for librarians. You can find out more about LTI and read the blog via the links in the chat. We send out one email a week with our latest posts and some handpicked tech news stories, usually in the realm of AI. Now, before we get started, I'd like to point out just a few features of the webinar software. All attendees who join the presentation are automatically muted and your cameras are off, so don't worry about generating any noise or feedback. We've got that taken care of for you. In the main area of the screen, you can follow along with the presentation materials. To adjust the size of the slides or video, you can use the divider in the middle of the screen to slide the sizes to your liking. We are using the Q&A feature today. Please use it to submit questions or comments for our speakers. We'll answer as many questions as we have time for at the end of the presentation, so please do type your questions into the Q&A module as they occur to you. You can also use the upvote feature to highlight questions you like or would like to be addressed. Also, there's closed captioning available for today's session. To toggle the automated captions on or off, please use the Show Captions button on the bottom panel of your screen. You can also turn on automated translation for the captions by clicking the arrow button, toggling on translation, and selecting your preferred language. Last, please note that we are recording today's program, and everyone who registered should receive a follow-up email with links to the recording and today's slides. Now, today we are joined by Alan Jones, Senior Director of Digital Libraries and Technical Services at the New School Libraries and Archives, Annette Coates-Redshaw, Head of Library Collection and Digital Services at Northumbria University, Christine Stone, Senior Director, Strategy Innovation at Clarivate, and Miri Botzer, Vice President, Product Innovation at Clarivate. Now, I'm just going to launch a quick poll here that you can fill out. And in the meantime, I will hand it over to Christine.
Thank you, Sabrina. Just looking at the navigation. Yes, there it is. Okay, hello everyone. In my part of the session, I want to talk a bit about what we're hearing from users, what the implications are, and how we're addressing this to bring libraries into AI platforms and AI workflows. Let's start with some data. In April, we ran a student survey on AI use in academic research. We had around 500 completed responses, and the key takeaway is very clear and likely does not surprise anyone. Almost all students are now using AI for academic work. ChatGPT leads by a large margin, followed by Gemini and other tools like Copilot and Claude. And of course, there are also other tools that are in use. I'll talk more about the outcome of that survey a bit later. But I first want to outline 3 challenges that come with that rapid adoption and that use of AI tools. One is the issue of accuracy. Oh, I just see that the results of the poll are coming in. So let me just quickly interrupt my presentation. So the question was, where is your library currently placing the greatest emphasis in its use of AI? And I think the winner is too early to determine. Yeah, I think a lot of libraries are still struggling with what they're actually going to do with that. So very interesting. Thank you for your answers. Okay, so to continue about the 3 challenges I wanted to talk about with that rapid adoption. One is the issue of accuracy. AI tools can produce answers that sound very convincing, but maybe incorrect or even fabricated. Large language models are trained to respond with confidence, but confidence and truthfulness are, of course, 2 very different things. The second challenge is with zero-click search. Students get an answer directly in the chat interface and do not continue to a database or to a library system, library discovery system maybe. They never look at the result list. They never click on a full text link. So that's also one of the things that are coming as a challenge. And the third is library visibility. The library is often not part of that interaction, even when the library provided content that is indirectly being used. It's not associated with the library per se. But these challenges also represent an opportunity here. If the library can be present inside the AI interaction itself, and even more important, perhaps, can address gaps and worries that users already have, it can possibly add real value. For example, with verifying sources or providing citable sources, and students are already very aware of the problem with incorrect or missing citations. And that's also shown in some other questions in our survey. So coming back to that, in the same survey mentioned earlier, we also asked students, how has AI affected your academic motivation? 58% of graduate PhD and 40% of undergraduate student report increased academic motivation. That's also significant. In addition, we did some impact analysis on our own AI-based research assistants, specifically on Web of Science and ProQuest, and that provides also some more insights. And you see this on the right-hand side of the slide. AI users are far more likely to cite and download articles compared to users that are not using the AI features. Users of those features are more likely to return multiple times per month. They look at more article records and they spend more time on our platform. That is interesting to see. You may expect users to not dive deep into things when they, for example, get AI features like overviews or key insights that are automatically created. While I'm sure this does happen, it's not true across the board. We also asked students what their ideal AI tool for learning would look like. The responses were grouped into themes here, and the most prominent request by far was for trusted and verifiable content. I think I need to go to the next slide. It's coming here a little bit with, yeah, so this is what I actually wanted to show you here. So the most prominent request was for trusted, verified academic support. The students in our survey want answers that are accurate and that are transparent and clearly grounded in real sources that do realize that it impacts how their work is graded, or in fact, how much time they spend to verify things. Or if we take it the other way around, they have already found out that answers from AI tools are cool, but the lack of verifiable sources is a problem in their academic work. And that is a gap that needs to be closed. And when asked to describe situations where AI tools did not work well for them, the dominant theme again was fabricated or unreliable citations. Students described cases where references did not exist, where answers had to be verified manually, or where they discovered errors only after submission or feedback. The quote on the right is quite revealing and likely quite a common experience. The student asked an AI tool for references and did not verify them, but the professor did and found that some of them were fabricated. And I'm sure those of you who work in Library Interloan can relate, because you likely have seen fabricated citations in the ILL requests. What this shows is that AI does not eliminate effort. It often shifts the effort towards verification. And this is exactly where libraries can add value, by providing trusted sources and by providing validation within the user's workflows, within these AI tools. So how are we responding to that? In Clarivate, in our academic AI strategy has two main areas. One is quite obvious. We are embedding AI directly into our existing products so that AI capabilities are integrated into, Web of Science, ProQuest, etc. But we also recognize that if users use AI tools and start their work there, we have to come to where they are. So our second pillar is about connecting AI use to our content and services, even when they start outside the library environment. And this is where Nexus Extend and Nexus Connect come in. So what are there? These changing slides is not so easy here in Zoom. Sorry. So at Clarivate, we have these two solutions that are complementary. Nexus Extend works as a browser extension. It sits on top of AI chat tools and adds functionality such as citation verification, what the students mentioned as one of the gaps, and also access to library resources. Nexus Extend is available on anyone's private or institutional chat agent. Nexus Connect, on the other hand, integrates library services and resources directly into AI tools like Claude, Gemini, Copilot, or in fact agents that you create yourself, and we'll see an example of that a little bit later, that you can then use on top of your website or faculty pages or similar. It uses MCP, the Model Context Protocol, that is a relatively new quasi-standard to connect AI agents with tools. Tools can be databases or any type of system that can provide services. Nexus Connect works with institutional, that is enterprise versions of those agents. To give a simple example, you may have an institution license for Copilot, you connect it via Nexus to your library catalog, and as a result, if a user is asking a question that requires academic sources, Copilot will check in your catalog. In both cases, with Nexus Extend and Nexus Connect, the goal is the same, to connect AI-driven user tools with trusted library-provided content. I added, if I can change the slide, yeah. I added 2 screenshots here to illustrate this a little bit better. On the left is an example of ChatGPT with Nexus Extend. You can see here that it adds verification and full text buttons to the ChatGPT answer and also adds other related sources based on what you have in your library discovery system. It does not touch in any way what ChatGPT answers, but it prompts users to ask ChatGPT for references. And once they're added, it verifies the citations ChatGPT provides, and then suggests additional material from the library that helps with the user's topic. On the right is an example of Nexus Connect. The user starts to work with Claude in this example, and Claude connects to our library discovery system, Primo, via MCP. I'm asking in my example for an outline for a paper and some references, and Claude is searching in Primo to find sources, and then provides the outline based on them and lists the sources, including links to the library provided full text. These are 2 very different approaches, both designed to bring the library into AI tools in the best possible way. This is all I wanted to cover here. And with that, I'll hand over to Annette.
Thanks, Christine. Hopefully everyone can hear me. You've already heard from Christine about the AI landscape and what Nexus Extend and Connect can do. And what I'm going to do is give the view from inside a university library that's already deep in this space. Tell you about what we're seeing from our students, what they're telling us directly, and why, from where I'm sitting, this kind of integration really matters for libraries like ours. So a little bit of context. University of Northumbria at Newcastle is a large civic university in Newcastle upon Tyne, which is in the northeast of England, the little heart on the map there. It's apparently comparable in size to Pittsburgh and is about 280 miles north of London, but we're actually closer to Edinburgh, as you'll be able to see. Our vital stats are on the slide, so I won't read them out, but we're a sizable, complex institution. And like most universities in the UK, we're navigating the AI landscape very much in real time and at a very fast pace. Some library context. We are part of a bigger directorate with student-focused services and have 2 campuses and 3 libraries. I've put that we're in Amsterdam, but we've just left Amsterdam and we have presences in London and Birmingham. We get consistently high satisfaction, so above 90% in student national surveys, and we have no subject librarians. We've got a functional structure and no inquiry desks, which always shocks people, and instead have a super converged front line, which serves a number of purposes, including the library. So in terms of AI at Northumbria University, we became an Anthropic customer in autumn 2025, with all staff and students having the opportunity to use Claude for education. And the rationale was equity of access, so ensuring that all students have access to AI tools and the skills to use them responsibly. Like everyone else, we can see how vital skills with AI tools will be for student success beyond their time with us, and we want to ensure that it's part of what we offer. And at Northumbria, we've positioned Claude as a 24/7 study assistant and are clear that it's not a replacement for reading or students producing their own work. We've got a Centre for Responsible AI that's just been established, and a Centre for Doctoral Training. And we are hoping that we'll have PhD students that come out of that who will be leading the way in developing AI applications and services. We appointed a Dean of AI last year to bring all of the strands together of AI, and they're in the midst of finalising our AI policy for the university. So where does the university library fit in relation to this work? Well, we're quite central, as it turns out. Our university librarian led the student support work stream for the implementation of Claude, and we have a key role in building trust and confidence in using AI tools with the training sessions we deliver and the online material that you can see an example of on the screen. We're part of the Nexus Development Partners Programme for Nexus Extend and Connect, and we've worked with Clarivate before on a previous development programme, and we're really impressed with the final product and how keen Clarivate were to have feedback and to provide opportunities to influence how things were developed. And we'd obviously, like everyone else, have been thinking about how AI tools were impacting the library and the use of library services and resources, and could see there was a vital opportunity provided by Extend and Connect to knit back what was being unravelled by disaggregation caused by the use of AI tools. And we were also very keen because we ourselves are leading a little project, an educational enhancement fund project around the use of Claude and how we develop meaningful support resources that scaffold students' learning and respond to their needs. And as part of that, we've run a couple of Let's Talk AI sessions, which were face-to-face with students. And it's the information from these groups and feedback from students about AI that I'm going to focus on in my remaining slides. First of all, I acknowledge the fact that the following slides were my colleague's, Dr. Claire Lyness, who's part of this project. So I thank her, even though she's not on the call for these. So the first question we asked students were which tools were they using, and you can see the answers on the screen. The spread across tools is notable and kind of reflects what Christine was saying earlier on her slides. There's someone here that I hadn't heard of, but students don't seem to be loyal to just one, and they're moving between them depending on what they're doing. And I suppose that's incredibly important when it comes to thinking about Extend and Connect. The answer isn't simply make the library work well in Claude. Students are going to be outside of those systems and have their own preference. So it's important that whatever is developed follows them wherever they are. We asked students what they're using the AI for, and the top answer was summarising, which would strike fear into the heart of every librarian who can just imagine them uploading subscribed licensed content into it. But for today's purposes, they were, and what I find most interesting is that they're using it for research. It's part of how they find and engage academic content. And obviously we had real concerns that they wouldn't be finding the content in our library collection. They'd be missing vital elements related to their subject area, or would be given incorrect information in terms of citations. They're also using it for writing and editing, but in one of our sessions, a student hadn't used AI at all. And it's worth remembering that some people are a bit fearful of these tools. But the research use case is the most directly relevant to today's conversation. Students are asking AI to help them find and engage with academic sources, and that's always been the library's territory, and it's territory that we need to be present in. We asked students what they found most challenging about using AI tools, and this, I think, reflects again what Christine mentioned. I'll start with ethics and authorship, because this is what I found quite interesting, and that there's an assumption that students, especially being a lot younger than I am, are generally positive about AI and AI tools. And we haven't always found this to be the case. It's often a very mixed bag. Students aren't universally keen to use the tools as they have moral concerns around the environmental impact, the impact on jobs, the impact on creative industries, and also concern that they are not really learning and they will be penalised if used for their assessments. They also, as Christine's mentioned, have issues with trusting the results and the accuracy of what the tools present them with. They're aware of hallucinations around the citations. And I totally agree that the frustration goes deeper than just wrong citations, that their students have said that they're expending extra effort after using the AI tool to double check and verify, and sometimes feel they're worse off for time if they as if they hadn't used it at all. And that's where I think Nexus Extend and Connect can really help, as it's reconnecting those students with the source of truth, the library. And just like everybody else, they're also having difficulties prompting. The AI doesn't understand what I meant, came up repeatedly. The kind of support that students are looking for is basically they want to know how to use AI tools well. They want to understand what they can and can't do, and they want clarity around very specific things about what's academically permitted for their particular assessments. They want short and snappy do's and don'ts, and we think that part of this can be addressed in skill sessions that we deliver, but obviously part of it needs to be addressed institutionally to provide academic clarity around what can and can't be done in assessments. And unsurprisingly, they want more detail around the practical skills alongside help prompting. They want to know how to check the accuracy of what the AI is telling them. So finally, with all of this in mind, I want to finish with how I can see that Nexus Extend and Connect could help students with their concerns and help the library. For students, I think it's clear the feedback that we've had is that it would ensure that the trust is put back into that relationship with those tools, particularly around academic integrity and source quality. And that in turn will lead to less friction and time wasted in the research journey, so that there's a smoother path from a citation to actually getting to the resource. And if that's in place, it may begin to address some elements of their feelings around AI. Well, not all, I guess, but they will feel more confident in engaging with the AI tool if they know it's grounded in verified academic sources. For the library, the strategic case is incredibly strong. Embedding our resources into AI workflows keeps our collections visible and relevant. It also helps us make the case to institutional leadership for the value of what we do, which is increasingly important in the UK. Libraries are undergoing a lot of pressure around expenditure, particularly on resources in our collections. And so visible engagement through AI-assisted workflows gives us much stronger evidence of return on investment and positions us as a vital source of truth for users in the institution. It takes away that real strategic risk for libraries that students start working completely outside library systems by embedding ourselves back into that infrastructure as an essential layer of academic and research experience. And this is all very familiar when I've thought about it. The scale, obviously, of change with AI is arguably greater than anything we've seen before, but the underlying dynamic isn't new. Libraries and library tech companies have been here repeatedly, and the response has been consistently been the same. Meet users where they are and build the infrastructure to keep the library present and useful in whatever the new environment turns out to be. Each time the pattern is the same. And I think Nexus Extend and Connect are the next iteration of that same response. And I think it's the right one. And because at its heart, This is what librarians have always done. We help people navigate new tools to find what they need for learning and research. The tools may change and be a bit scarier, but the librarian's role doesn't. Thank you. That's all I think I've got to say, and I think I'm handing over to Alan.
Thanks. So, hi everyone. My name is Alan Jones. I'm from the New School in New York City. We've been doing some experiments with AI, and just before I get started, I want to just thank Miri, Christine, and everyone on the Ex Libris team, as well as others who, on the other side, I'll be talking a little bit about not just the conversation that we've had with Ex Libris and with Clarivate, but also that we've had with other vendors in terms of thinking about different ways to connect some of the both the services as well as the content. So I want to get started actually talking about some of the criticism, because AI has been something that has been difficult to address in terms of how people think about it. A number of different criticisms have come out from frontline staff in particular, who are feeling that many of their jobs are threatened. Many of their processes and things that they normally manage will actually turn into more work instead of less, because they'll start seeing people when end users are more frustrated. And so in thinking about some of the services that we're looking to build or to develop with Nexus Extend and Nexus Connect, we've been thinking a little bit about how do we actually improve this type of and bring the context along with the user, instead of sending them to a guides site that may not necessarily, they may be in Primo, they may be doing a music search, but then they have to go to SpringShare's LibGuides and then navigate that process. Or they may then have to try to find a music librarian and they go to a subject directory and have to go through the entire search again. So the question of how do you bring the context along with the user in some of this journey has been something that we've been looking at. In particular, one of the other things that we've been thinking about is how can we actually equip the person who is actually helping the end user? How do they know what it is that's already been said, so that the end user doesn't have to go through it again and again and again? On the back office side, you can actually see a number of different things. Many of you have probably heard many of the same criticisms in terms of some of the different concerns. Certainly lack of transparency when it comes to some of these processes. They don't understand how it works. They don't understand. There are a lot of concerns about diversity as well, and some of the training models or training information that's been used to train some of these models, and these are legitimate criticisms. Part of what we're trying to do as we think about an educational program for some of the staff is to expose some of this and to make it a little bit more understandable. So Northumbria talked a little bit about what they're doing with the browser extension and with some of the work in Claude. I'm going to provide a little bit of a strategy of what it is that we're thinking at New School, and then talk a little bit and hopefully give a demo around what it is that we're doing. So why do our own thing? Why actually use an MCP server? Why go into the technical debt about designing or rolling our own solution? Well, some of it has to do with the fact that our ecosystem is completely different than many other institutions. We have different communication channels than just using a browser extension. One of the things that we've been thinking about is, what would this agent look like in LibChat? What would it look like in Google Chat? What would it look like in Slack? What would it look like in any of these other types of iterations that aren't necessarily these web interface types of interfaces? We want to have a little bit more control and governance. We want to be able to modify and change the prompts and do other types of things when we want to modify things. And more importantly, the staff are giving an incredible amount of insight when it comes to how to actually engage and interact with some of these tools. And you'll actually see that some of the criticism that they've had has actually entered into some of our design. So what I've been thinking about is using a product called Library Open Workflows to actually build this agent. You'll see that there's a graphical interface that'll actually show you what it is that's coming in. You can actually see the output of what it is that the agent is actually coming up with. You can actually see almost in real time what the tools are that the agent is actually using. So you're actually seeing under the hood what it is that the tool is actually doing. So part of our strategy is thinking about vendor engagement, not just Clarivate, but places like Third Iron, places like SpringShare, content providers as well, and thinking about publishers and their endpoints, thinking about how it is that we can actually control some of this as opposed to giving this control over to a vendor with an extension that we may or may not be able to modify things with. And we want to actually take a number of different types of approaches. Does it make sense? Will students actually go to an institutional LLM? Will they use our things that we built? What types of local services can we add to something like Primo Research Assistant that would actually drive traffic over to research and instruction librarians? So here's a model that we've constructed to actually look at kind of thinking about I call it a 5-layer cake, but the idea basically being that as you're thinking about some of these different types of interfaces, what are the types of services? What are the types of tools? What are the types of data that needs to be exposed? And what type of governance actually needs to be in place in order to actually pull this all together in some kind of a achievable end. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but you get the idea. This isn't just kind of a single tool, but there's actually many layers to it. And more importantly, we've also been thinking about what the publisher models is. If we go out to somebody like, I don't know, another aggregator that starts with E, or we go out to somebody like another publisher that starts with E, what are the different ways that we can actually talk about how we want to get their content into our system? What this is really trying to do, and it's heavily based on Aaron Tay's model, in thinking about different types of deep search as well as deep retrieval. If we can talk about some of these models with them, then maybe it's less threatening for them to be able to share things like their abstracts or maybe share some of their content and some of their metadata. I've actually found in having a conversation with a couple of different publishers, having something like this in front of them gets them talking about how they can engage rather than whether they engage. And so it's a really important framework or heuristic to be able to put in front of them and say, this is the stuff we want in our agent, and this is how we want it to appear. So I'm going to actually go to a demo here. If they can just release the deck and share. Let's see. And this is the demo agent that we've been working on. One of the things I want to explain or to show is that you'll see here that we actually have different types of subjects here. We have our librarians, we have their guide profiles and their links. So this information is actually available within our agent. I just started a search here so that you could actually see what an article search would be. Actually, this is working against our Primo. It's actually asking and prompting the students to actually work with a better constructed type of search as well. It's actually offering it Boolean recommendations. But the most important thing is talking about how to bring this context along. So for example, instead of articles, maybe I want to research databases instead. Now, granted, because this is a beta, the response is slow, but but you'll actually see that rather than actually sending people out to the A to Z list, instead of sending them out to the subjects list, this is actually going to return a set of databases that are scoped specifically to this query of showing articles about Frank Zappa and Miles Davis. So you'll actually see that the recommendations are here as far as what they are. But more importantly, and especially one of the things that's returned with some of these uh, um, articles is, why did the AI actually choose these particular articles? So rather than just giving a summary of what the article is or a snippet, it's actually exposing some of the logic as far as why it chose these 5 articles for them to return. Gives you a number of different types of options. I can actually go out to research guides as well. I can actually connect with that librarian, and it'll actually provide that contact URL that I had shown before. This is where it is that this chat assistant is now. Where we would like to get it is actually interacting with Alma, placing holds, doing things with my account, doing other types of much more active engagement, scheduling appointments with librarians, booking study rooms and the like. And so we've been working with SpringShare and others to actually begin to think about what would this look like to have this agent actually connect to some of these other things. So rather than going to a website and trying to navigate the website, it can actually begin and land here within the chat agent itself. And here you can actually see databases that are actually scoped to the query itself. Okay, so oops. Let me turn the share off. And I just have one more slide as far as where it is that we want to go. So, whoops. Thanks. So, as I was saying, we want to get to a place where we're actually talking to Alma. We do have some challenges when it comes to different types of authentication. These are workflows that I cannot thank Christine and the folks over at Clarivate and Ex Libris for actually helping with. This has been something that's been an absolute, I think the 2 words that I use with Christine is that it's incredibly addictive. One of the things I did with my chat agent was I had a version of it that actually talked like Dr. Evil. So there was a whole bunch of fun. I had another one that was Spock. So you can just have a tremendous amount of fun with this. The other part is that we do want to put together a governance group to actually look at this. That includes a number of different roles within the library. But most importantly, we want to begin thinking about where we can actually put this type of tool within a place like Canvas. So not only would we actually have an assignment planner, but we would have an assignment planner that actually gave research guides, that gave potential research appointments, and gave suggestions for recommendations of databases, articles, and even allowed people to put items on hold so that they could complete their assignment from all in one place within Canvas. So as you can see, this is actually going from not just thinking about the browser extension, but thinking about all the other different places that we might be able to align and work with within our provost office to expose this particular agent. So thank you.
Okay, sorry, I was just busy answering a question, so I missed your endpoint, so to speak. Okay, thank you very much, Alan and Annette. I think we are moving over to the QA and the panel. We had quite a few questions in the QA, but I think most of them we answered, and there are more coming in. But let's maybe start the panel with a question that also came in the QA, and that's very important to everyone, and that is about things like copyright, privacy, security. what problems do you see there, and what are the hard problems that still need to be solved, and how do you think these can be solved? Maybe start with Ellen.
Actually, that was one of the things that was kind of cool. I actually had, before I even started this, I actually had my security and privacy team actually look at the design of it. So right from the very beginning, they knew what was going on. They were a little freaked out when they heard Dr. Evil coming through a chat interface, but the point was that I think it made a certain amount of sense to them as far as the direction that I was going. The thing that they were the most concerned about, and one of the reasons that I actually like library open workflows is that they can actually see the data that's actually being exposed. And so it made the privacy conversations incredibly easy. Because if you can say, here's the things that are in the session headers, here are the things that the application is actually loading or exposing and what it isn't, it becomes a very different conversation than talking about things like SOC 2 or other types of things. It actually becomes much more about the application. The other thing, though, too, is that some of these security and privacy challenges are exactly the types of things that we're dealing with when it comes to these authentication hurdles. Because one of the things that we want to make sure of is that we're not actually disclosing anything more than we need to, but actually providing a secure interactions. Part of the reason I saw in the Q&A, somebody asked, is this available for playing yet? The answer is no, and it's partially because of these open authentication types of, or these authentication types of requirements. I don't want everybody putting holds on Alan's book account. So that's really, at this point, there are certain things that are hard coded within the demo. Um, but but the point is that it's exposed. It's something you can bring in your other types of security folks with, and then they can actually bring their expertise into it. It's actually become a really interesting conversational piece for IT and us to talk with one another.
Super, thank you, Ellen. Annette, anything you would like to add there, specifically about that topic?
Yeah, I mean, I will be coming from the non-technical side of that question, and my experience, having said that, is very similar to Alan. As long as you are having conversations early on, especially with our data protection team at the university, they're jumping on anything AI at the moment, and so our legal services team. As long as they are aware of what you're doing and you've got those open channels between yourself and the supplier, I think it's far easier. I think there's still a lot of worry and concern from them, just because everything seems to be popping up all at once for them, and they don't understand all of the implications or what's fully involved. And so, yeah, I would totally agree. Get people involved early on, and in terms of the copyright side of things and licenses, yeah, that's still a worry we have. It was kind of taken away slightly in terms of having Claude for education, because it's within our institution and some of our licenses allow for that. So that made it easier for us to give information to students. But I would say from our staff as well, there is that concern that they're doing the wrong thing, or it's a really high risk thing to do, to give advice around the use of these tools and resources in relation to these tools. And it's going to take us the transparency side of things, I think, that Alan mentioned. If we can be as transparent as possible about how these tools work, so that they can then explain them, I think that will help a lot. But I've seen this kind of resistance from especially library staff when it comes to when it came to moving to Summon and then Primo, how resources and they were worried about that side of things there too. So yeah, it's all very familiar problems, it feels, even though it's scary AI.
Yeah, it's somehow it sounds familiar, right? So 10 years ago we spoke about discovery, and it was a big thing also about, licenses and that sort of thing. And now we're talking AI, and it's the same discussion. Miri, do you want to add anything
Yes,
there?
just gonna add, really from the vendor perspective. So yes, there are still a lot of hard problems out there to solve because now, and I think maybe it's different from the discussion that we had before, also in the discoveries. It's really very fast. The technology changes and the experience change, and it's really hard to chase it. So I think that the trust issue that I think all the three of you spoke about trust, the users or the librarian. I think this is the main one and it's coming from all the stakeholders. It's from the users, but it's also from the libraries. It's from the publishers when we're thinking about their content and rights. And I think from the vendor perspective, we really need to think of all of this and the ecosystem of trust from design, from beginning, and verifying that everyone have the control. So if we're talking about the users, from our point of view, we are really trying to verify that there is no PII data that is being transferred. It's funny, even though the user themselves are not concerned, we are like kind of taking the concern for them. We are verifying that no data is stored or transferred. And from the publishers, right, we want to verify that we are keeping them in control on what is there and what is available. And of course, in the library, and this is our approach for both Connect and Extend, it's like still keeping them in the middle, in control, and kind of verifying that the trust between all the other stakeholders is maintained. So yes, there are still hard problems to solve, but I think when we're thinking about the trust ahead of us as something that is guiding us, we are in the right direction.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, what do you think the community can do? Because there's a lot of insecurity, right, on every side, really. On the publisher side, on the librarian side, on the vendor side. What do you think can the community do to support people, to give people more confidence in creating AI tools or participating in AI?
For me, this is easy. Share, share, share.
Share. Okay.
I cannot say this enough. Don't just roll your own thing at New School, but actually publish it within something like Library Open Workflows and let other people use the same type of tools so that everybody's not actually building the same widget over and over and over again, but you're actually iterating on top of each other's work. One of the things that I saw that there was a question about what tool I'm using for the chat interface. I'm actually using Library Open Workflows, which is a version of N8N that's directly connected with Alma and Primo in order to do this. But a lot of this is built off of the work that other people have done as well, that have contributed to that community uh, of different types of workflows. You'll see that there's a lot of the versions of my tools are actually versions of things that other people have written from Harvard, from University of Minnesota, from other places that they've published in other places, either in GitHub or in other places.
Thank you. Annette, any suggestion what the community could do?
I think it's very similar to Alan. I think it's just demystify all of this stuff. Like I've said, this is the latest iteration of what we've been through before with various other types of technology, and people's concerns are very much the same. And I'm glad to say Clarivate's approach has been rapid and fast, but it's a similar one. And the fact that you have involved users from the get-go to look at what you are doing and to feed back. Although obviously we're not, especially not me, I'm not building the technical side of it. We're aware of what's happening and feel like we have a voice and understand what the end goal is, and that we're all kind of working towards the same aim, which is to put back what's been a bit disaggregated. And also, I think for the community. They want to know what's in it, what's the value proposition for me. And for me, it's really, for me in my library and at this point in time, it's to get the library back to where the users are and to get them getting their the sources that they need that are a high quality. So showing what the value proposition could be for using the AI tools alongside this new technology that you're developing. Because we are, to use probably quite an English phrase, we're not hiding to nothing if we don't get ourselves, you don't invite ourselves to that party. Do we describe AI as a party? Perhaps a scary party that you don't want to go to, but you just have to try.
Yeah. Miri,
I think
anything?
just that when we're talking about community, so of course, and I think Ellen, maybe I heard it from you in one of the discussions with other customers when we're talking about community. So first, yes, it's the academic libraries community and how you're working together. But I think that it's also important for us as a vendors to also act as a community. So not coming with every vendor creating their guidelines and rules and discussions with publishers, for example, but really working together. So I really hope that we can also work as a single community.
Yeah, that's what it feels like at the moment. It's been a bit overwhelming, I think, for anyone trying to make a decision, because every single publisher platform has its own AI. Every 2 seconds, there's some kind of announcement of some new development related to AI. And I think for community in general, it's quite overwhelming at the moment. So
Well,
yeah, I
actually,
would totally agree.
and that you're bringing something up that is part of the reason that I'm wanting to talk to multiple vendors. And it actually has to do with this fact that we already know that vendors who are not providing their abstracts are actually showing up lower in search results than it, particularly when it comes to different types of Claude-based search or other types of things. One of the things I'm incredibly interested in, because I think it's actually going to form some of the conversations that we have with publishers, is in asking for this, we want to make sure that it's a level playing field. Because otherwise, what's going to happen is if you say that, okay, these particular publishers don't allow abstracts, but these do, of course, the first question they're going to ask is, why are people not seeing my articles in your search results? Well, your metadata isn't there, or your summaries are not there, or your abstracts are not there. So the tool is not doesn't have the content it needs in order to actually expose the articles appropriately. A lot of times publishers don't necessarily connect the idea that their limitations on their metadata actually build bias into the tools. And so it's we've got to have a group of somebody like NISO or someone else to actually come up with some kind of common language as far as how publishers can actually, which model or which thing do you set in? The slide that I had about the 4 models, everybody is afraid that model 4 is going to happen, that they're going to basically extract all of this information and walk away with their own LLM. But the thing is that there are 3 other quadrants of material that they could actually be doing if they expose this content. And so there's a lot of these publisher conversations that are going on that are tremendously fear-based. And so I think one of the things that we need to do is we need to be able to develop this type of taxonomy and say, okay, we're adults here. This is what it is we want to use this for. These are what the goals are. Can I get the appropriate metadata profile for this particular MCP for my tool? That's the part that needs to happen, not just kind of plugging a whole bunch of stuff in. I think I said this at CNI when I started talking to different publishers, like, congratulations, we just reinvented federated search. And because if I have this one thing from Elsevier and I have this other thing from Ex Libris and I have this third thing from Wiley, how is that all going to mix? Well, a lot of it's going to mix either appropriately or inappropriately based on the metadata that they actually expose in their MCPs.
This all sounds very familiar, doesn't it?
I mean,
It's
this
always
is
a
right,
problem.
exactly.
Yeah. I totally, as you can see from me getting more and more excited about it, I totally agree with you. The last thing as a library that we want to do is to show have these things and they just show them a very small segment of that content. That just takes away the whole point of it. And yeah, totally. How do we get those publishers to see the value proposition for them, which, as you said, is their results will be high up, their content will be seen. And I don't understand why that's a hard sell. I think that's, I mean, don't you want your content to be seen? What's so hard about that? Um, I know for a fact that users don't want to end up going to the publisher beginning with E's website and this publisher over here to find their stuff and interact with their AI platform. That's not what they want. It's not convenient. They're never going to do that. They're already using these models, and yeah, I would be incredibly disappointed in them if they're so short-sighted as to think that that's what's going to happen, because it isn't. It's not. It's already not happening, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Christine, I
Thank
think
you.
that just maybe
Yeah.
worth, just because the question that was on the chat about the copyright implication, it's still getting more votes. Just to say that from our side, and I think this is because there is a specific question whether they need to verify that in line with the licensing permission of the library resources. So just to say that, of course, everything that we are exposing in the Connect and MCP is aligned with the agreements that we have with the publishers, and we have created the granularity to allow them to control it. For example, whether only the metadata is presented or the abstract or what kind of data. So just to verify that. No more questions there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We also had questions which were related to staffing. There was actually a question that was directly related to something that you said, Alan. Now I'm trying to find it again. Okay. So I thought it was just interesting. So it says, Alan, what you're building looks great. I can't help wondering, once you've succeeded in coding the 4 agents you've got in progress, how do you plan to respond to the admin pressure to reduce staffing level, particularly for research assistant that may result?
The way I would respond to that basically is that my goal is to drive traffic. It's not actually to substitute traffic. I think one of the things that's important for me, particularly as I was explaining my agent, is that after 3 or 4 different requests, something comes up that basically says, do you want to talk to a librarian? Talk to Greg. He's the music librarian. Here's his link. Do you want to make an appointment? He's free from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock today. So, the idea here is that it would be reinserting the librarians back instead of actually taking over their work. I look at something like an agent as almost like a ready reference. I don't necessarily look at it as deep research help, at least not yet, not in the capacity that it needs to be. And I actually had one of the directors actually say, I don't want the thing you're building to be competing with my chat service. The goal is not to do that. And in fact, one of the things that I've been talking to the folks over in SpringShare about is actually connecting LibChat with them, seeing if the subject librarians are actually online, and if they are, transferring the chat over to a librarian. That way, the librarian would have the history of what it is that it talked with the agent, and then by that time, they would actually see and know what resources the person has already been exposed to and what it is that they haven't. But again, props to Christine on this. You know, we've been having conversations with SpringShare about this deeply in terms of some of the use cases and things. I think we have 20 pages of user stories at this point, just in terms of what it is that these bots are supposed to be doing and what it is that they're not. Case in point, one of the APIs in SpringShare actually gives the appointments, but it doesn't actually give it the freeze times that the librarians are available within libcal. So how do you figure out, so they haven't thought about what the data is that they even need to expose in order to make these types of services work. So if you think about that 5-layer cake, I don't see this as a question of competition so much as I see this as a question of augmentation and complementarity.
Yeah.
Is that a word?
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. No.
Probably now it is. Okay. We're almost at the top of the hour. So any closing words from you, Maybe Annette, do you have any closing words that you would like to say?
I would totally agree with I'm going to use the word complementarity because I am hoping it is a word if it isn't one. I think there's always a role for the librarians to provide the skills teaching to help users navigate using these tools. I don't think that's ever going to go away. So yeah, that's what I would like to say. And if that helps to reassure anybody, I'll be very pleased.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Alan, Mary, any closing words?
For me, just to
Yeah.
say that we will answer the question that we haven't through emails. So apologize for the one that we didn't manage to answer.
No, I think the idea the idea for us at this point was to talk about experimentation. And just to address the issue of energy impact, you can't estimate what the usage is going to be until you actually know what the usage is going to be. And then you start to think about what this looks like at scale. So for us, part of the reason that I've been kind of engaging in this experiment, and I really do mean experiment, is that it is and will assess the impact based on token consumption and other types of things
Yeah.
that we can then think about what's the carbon impact for this. If we just bought something off of the shelf, we wouldn't be able to know this. And so I think it's really important that we do this research ourselves. And I
Yeah.
would say that about AI services across the board.
Yeah, agree. Okay, I think we are at the end, and Sabrina, I think you're having the closing part. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Christine. Yeah, I'll just say thank you to Miri, Christine, Annette, and Alan for taking the time to speak with us today. And thank you to our attendees for your questions and your comments. I'd like to remind our viewers that we did record today's program, so be on the lookout for a follow-up email from Choice with links to the recording and today's slides. Also, if you have a few minutes after the presentation to fill out a brief survey, we would really appreciate it. So thanks again to all of you out there for joining us. We hope you learned something new from the webinar and hope to see you again soon on another session. Thanks, everyone.